At night, when everything goes quiet, her thoughts get loud. That's when your silence weighs the heaviest. Not because you're trying to play games, but because you've chosen discipline over reaction. And brother, that choice changes everything. In this video, we're going to break down exactly why your silence keeps her awake at night, what it reveals about her mind, and how Stoic wisdom helps you stay grounded, calm, and unshaken through it all. Before we dive in, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment with one word: discipline. Now, let's get started. Number 1, the echo of absence. The echo of absence. When you're silent, it's not empty, it's an echo. She hears the absence of your voice, your presence, your words. That echo grows louder at night, reminding her of what's missing. For the Stoic man, silence is never just the lack of sound. It's a statement of strength. And here's the thing, silence isn't neutral. It works like a mirror. At first, she may try to fill the space with laughter, with scrolling through her phone, with conversations that distract her from noticing your absence. But once the world quiets down and the lights go off, that echo you left behind returns stronger than ever. The human mind doesn't like empty spaces. It fills them with memories, with questions, with possibilities. And if you've been a steady presence in her life before, your absence now becomes deafening. Imagine someone suddenly removing a painting that hung in your living room for years. The wall isn't blank. It feels incomplete. And your eyes keep returning to that empty space, searching for what used to be there. That's exactly how your silence works in her world. She notices the absence, and the more she notices, the more it takes root in her thoughts at night when she lies in bed and the distractions fade. Your silence doesn't feel like nothing. It feels like a presence of its own, one that presses in on her. She wonders why you aren't calling, why you aren't reaching out, why you seem to have let go so easily. And in those questions, you gain strength. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the best revenge is not to be like your enemy in relationships. That means not reacting impulsively, not begging for attention when it's withheld, not breaking your own discipline just to ease the discomfort of being ignored. Your silence becomes your proof of control. Control over your impulses, your emotions, your need for validation. Instead of chasing her, you let her confront the echo. You let her imagination wrestle with what your silence means. Is he over me? Is he moving on? Has he found peace without me? These are questions she cannot silence, no matter how much she tries. So when you choose silence, don't think of it as retreat. Think of it as the echo of your presence, loud enough to keep her awake. Steady enough to remind her that your value was never in chasing, but in standing strong, calm, and unshaken. That is not emptiness. It is presence in its most powerful form. Number 2, the mirror of reflection. The mirror of reflection. Your silence forces her to look in the mirror of her own choices. She may have thought she had control, but now she faces the reality of what she walked away from. By staying calm, you let her wrestle with her own mind. And this is where things get interesting, because silence works differently than words. Words can be explained away, argued against, or even ignored. But silence offers no script. It leaves her alone with her thoughts, and the mirror she now faces is not flattering. It's revealing. At first, she may convince herself she made the right decision. Maybe she tells her friends, "I had to walk away. It's better this way." But when you don't rush in to prove her wrong, or to fight for her attention, those words start to feel hollow. She looks into the mirror of her own choices and begins to wonder, did I act too quickly? Did I mistake his patience for weakness? Did I misjudge his worth? The reflection she sees isn't just about you, it's about her own decisions, and the longer you remain steady, the sharper that reflection becomes. Think of it like a quiet room with no music, no distractions. In that stillness, every creak of the floorboards, every sound of your own breathing becomes louder. In the same way, your silence magnifies the reality she tried to escape. What was once drowned out by her confidence now becomes unavoidable. She's forced to replay the moments, rethink the arguments, and reconsider the choices she thought were final. You don't need to remind her of what she lost. Your calm absence already does it for you. Epictetus taught that we should not be disturbed by what others say or do, but rather focus on how we respond. By choosing silence, you're not punishing her, you're mastering yourself. You're refusing to be pulled into the chaos of her emotions or the drama of her decisions. You stand grounded, and in that groundedness, you hand her back the weight of her choices. She has no one else to blame, no one else to point fingers at. The mirror is clear, and it reflects only her, and that is the power of your silence. It isn't about winning or proving a point. It's about holding your ground so firmly that she has no option but to see the truth for what it island. When she looks in that mirror, she won't just see the man she walked away from. She'll see the cost of underestimating him, and that realization can echo far louder than any words you could have spoken. That's the moment the tables begin to turn. Not because you argued, not because you begged, but because you stayed still. Your silence has already spoken louder than any explanation could. Before we move on, take a second to let this sink in. Strength isn't found in chasing. It's found in mastering yourself. If this resonates with you, hit that like button. Drop a comment sharing your thoughts or simply type, "Be calm." Now let's keep going. The weight of wonder. Number 3, the weight of wonder. While you rest peacefully, she lies awake wondering, where is he? Who is he with? Has he moved on? That wondering keeps her restless. For you, discipline means not feeding her curiosity. Epictetus taught, freedom begins the moment you stop craving control over others. And this is exactly what your silence embodies. It denies her the easy answers she once took for granted. When you were always available, she never had to wonder. She could call, text, or demand attention, and you would respond. But when you choose to step back and hold your ground, you create space. That space isn't empty. It's filled with questions that only she can ask, and only she can wrestle with. This weight of wonder builds quietly at first. Maybe she scrolls through her phone at night, hovering over your name, tempted to send a message, but holding back. Maybe she checks your social media looking for signs, trying to decode your silence, and yet she finds nothing. The curiosity grows heavier each night until what began as mild interest becomes restless energy she can't shake off. She tells herself she doesn't care, but her actions betray her. Every time she checks the time, every time she replays old conversations in her head, every time she imagines where you might be and who you might be with, for you, the Stoic man, this is where discipline comes in. It's tempting to break the silence just to relieve your own discomfort, or to prove a point, or to see her reaction. But Epictetus reminds us control lies only within. By refusing to satisfy her curiosity, you remind yourself and her that you're not dependent on her attention, you're not bound by her need to know. That's what makes you powerful. Your silence teaches her that she doesn't control the narrative anymore. And that realization unsettles her far more than any message you could send. Think of it like a locked door. On the other side, she can imagine anything. Maybe you're out with friends, maybe you're already moving on, maybe you're simply unbothered and at peace. The truth doesn't even matter anymore. What matters is that she can't know. And the human mind, when deprived of answers, fills the gap with imagination. That imagination is what keeps her awake at night, restless and uneasy. While you rest calm, knowing your discipline protects your peace. The shift in power. Number 4. The the shift in power. She thought walking away meant she held the power, but when you didn't chase, the balance shifted. Now she feels uncertain, and uncertainty is powerful. Seneca wrote, "He is most powerful who has himself in his own power." That's exactly what you're showing. And this is where the story begins to turn, because the moment you refused to run after her, the script she expected collapsed. Most men would have flooded her phone with messages, begged for answers, or tried to fix things. She thought you'd follow that same pattern, but when you didn't, her sense of control began to slip through her fingers. This shift in power doesn't happen with shouting or dramatic gestures. It happens in the quiet strength of your restraint. Picture a chessboard. She thought she had the winning move, that by walking away she'd leave you scrambling. But instead, you calmly let her make her move. And then you stayed still. Suddenly, she realizes the board isn't in her favor anymore. Every step she takes now is filled with doubt, because she doesn't know what your next move will be, or if you'll even make one at all. That uncertainty is what gnaws at her, because she can't predict or control you anymore. Seneca's wisdom reminds us that power isn't about dominating others. It's about governing ourselves. You didn't allow desperation to dictate your behavior. You didn't allow her actions to pull you into chaos. Instead, you remained composed, and in doing so, you redefined the power dynamic. What was once her game is no longer a game at all. It's a mirror reflecting your self-mastery. And the more you hold your ground, the more she realizes that she isn't in charge of the outcome. Think of how unsettling this must be for her. At first she might laugh with friends, saying, "You'll be back." She might even wait for the inevitable call. But days turn to weeks, and your silence doesn't break. Slowly that laughter fades into questions, and those questions become doubts. Did I underestimate him? Has he outgrown me? Is he already gone for good? And in that spiral, the shift in power becomes undeniable. So remember this, you didn't take her power, you reclaimed your own. By mastering yourself, by refusing to be moved by impulse, you showed her a strength she never expected. That's what Stoicism teaches us. Real power isn't in controlling others. It's in standing so firmly within yourself that nothing outside can shake you. And that, brother, is the kind of power that keeps her awake at night. Number 5. The ghost of expectation. The ghost of expectation. She expected tears, calls, maybe even desperation. Instead, she meets silence. And that silence is scarier than anger. The Stoic man doesn't give her the drama she anticipates. He gives her stillness, and that unsettles her most. You see, most people are conditioned to expect a script after a breakup or conflict. She thought she had already written the story. You would chase, you would beg, you would crumble under the weight of losing her. That's what makes leaving feel powerful. Believing the other person will fall apart while you walk away untouched. But when she doesn't get that response, when you don't play the role she cast for you, her sense of control starts to unravel. This silence becomes like a ghost haunting her. It lingers in the background, not loud, not obvious, but impossible to ignore. She scrolls through her messages and sees no new notifications from you. She waits for the late night "I miss you" that never comes. She imagines hearing your voice or seeing your name pop up on her screen, but the silence never breaks. And what makes it so haunting is that she can't explain it away. Anger she could understand, it would confirm you still cared. Tears she could handle, it would prove she still had power over you. But stillness that leaves her in the dark, unsure if she miscalculated everything. Epictetus taught that we are not disturbed by things themselves, but by the opinions we form about them. Your silence forces her to form opinions, and those opinions are shaped by her own fears, her own doubts, her own insecurities. You don't have to do anything, you don't even have to say a word. By remaining still, you've handed her back the burden of expectation, and she now wrestles with her own thoughts. That's why your silence is scarier than anger. It allows her to imagine a reality where you no longer need her. Think of how powerful that island. Instead of you chasing her, it's her mind chasing you. Instead of you explaining yourself, it's her questioning herself. The ghost of expectation is no longer your problem. It's hers. She thought she could predict you, but your calm refusal to play along shattered that illusion. And the more she tries to figure you out, the more unsettled she becomes. So don't underestimate the weight of stillness. What seems like doing nothing is in fact everything. It's the moment where you prove that your peace matters more than her approval, that your discipline matters more than her expectations. And that kind of presence, the presence of silence, is what haunts her long after she thought she was done with you. Now, I want you to pause and think about this for a moment. Have you ever noticed how silence can feel heavier than words? How doing nothing can sometimes say everything? Reflect on that and let me know your thoughts in the comments, or simply type "Strength is in my stillness." Don't forget to hit that like button as well. He. LP has spread this message to more men who need it. Now, let's move forward. Number 6. The clock that ticks louder. The clock that ticks louder. At night, time stretches. Minutes feel like hours when she waits for a message that never comes. Your silence makes the clock tick louder. But you've mastered patience, and patience is a weapon. As a Stoic, you don't fight time, you align with it. Think about how unsettling that is for her. She might distract herself during the day with work, friends, or endless scrolling. But when the night falls and the world slows down, the silence you've created becomes impossible to ignore. Every second on the clock feels heavier. Every unanswered moment grows longer until she begins to feel that weight pressing on her chest. She may pick up her phone, stare at your name, and convince herself you'll break soon. Maybe she even drafts a message and deletes it, certain that if she just waits a little longer, you'll reach out first. But as each minute passes without your response, her confidence cracks. What she thought would be a short game of waiting turns into a restless night of tossing and turning. She realizes that time, which she thought was her ally, is now working against her. Because the longer you remain silent, the more uncertain she becomes. For you, however, patience isn't suffering, it's strength. Seneca once wrote, "Time discovers truth." You understand that you don't need to rush because the truth always reveals itself in time. While she wrestles with impatience, you rest peacefully, knowing that control isn't found in forcing moments, but in letting them unfold. That's the Stoic advantage, refusing to be a prisoner of time. You don't need immediate answers, you don't need her to validate you, and you don't crumble under the weight of waiting. Instead, you let the clock work in your favor, because every tick without desperation from you deepens the impression of your self-control. Picture it like this. Imagine two people standing in a room filled with silence. One fidgets, shifts, checks their watch, unable to handle the stillness. The other stands calm, unbothered, breathing evenly, waiting with ease. Who holds the power in that moment? Always the one at peace. That's exactly what you're showing her. While she becomes restless with every passing second, your calm presence makes time itself your ally. So when the nights feel long, remember this. Patience isn't weakness, it's dominance. Each moment you resist the urge to chase, the clock grows louder for her, not for you. And that's when she begins to realize that your silence isn't emptiness, it's mastery. Time doesn't control you. You walk hand in hand with it. And that brother is what keeps her awake while you sleep soundly. Number 7. The fire of curiosity. The fire of curiosity. Certainty calms the mind. Uncertainty burns it alive. Your silence fuels her imagination, creating scenarios she can't escape. And while she struggles with that fire, you embody Epictetus's wisdom. Focus only on what's within your control. You see, curiosity isn't harmless. It's a fire that grows stronger the more it's starved of answers. When you were always available, she never had to wonder. Every question had a quick solution, a text, a call, a reassuring word. But now she's left alone with her thoughts, and those thoughts become sparks that ignite into flames she can't put out. She starts to picture things that may not even be real. Is he out with someone else? Did he replace me already? Is he really over me that quickly? And because the human mind hates uncertainty, she keeps stoking that fire with her own imagination. What begins as a flicker of curiosity turns into sleepless nights, where every unanswered moment feels like fuel added to the flames. The silence becomes unbearable because it leaves her powerless to control the narrative. And that, ironically, is what keeps you in her mind even more. Epictetus taught us that we can't control others, nor should we waste energy trying to. What you can control is yourself, your discipline, your emotions, your choices. By refusing to feed her curiosity, you prove that your strength doesn't depend on her understanding, approval, or attention. You show that your peace doesn't come from giving her answers, but from standing firm in your own silence. While she burns with restless questions, you sit calmly in the shade, untouched by the flames. Think of it like a locked box. The more she wonders what's inside, the more obsessed she becomes with opening it. The mystery itself creates more tension than any truth could. That's what your silence does. It keeps the box closed, letting her imagination do the rest. And the irony is, the fire she feels isn't one you lit. It's one she created, fueled by her own doubts and desire for certainty. Understand this. Her curiosity is not your burden, it's her trial. By staying calm, you turn uncertainty into her problem, not yours. And in that space, your silence becomes more powerful than any explanation you could ever give. That's the Stoic path. Control yourself, let go of the rest, and watch as her curiosity becomes the fire that keeps her awake long after you've already found peace. The collapse of pride. Number 8. The collapse of pride. Her pride told her not to reach out, not to bend. But every night that pride feels heavier, what once seemed like strength now feels like weakness. Meanwhile, your stoic calm proves that real strength is quiet, not loud. And this is where the cracks begin to show. Pride can feel like armor in the moment it convinces her she's in control. That silence on her end means power, but pride has a weight to it, and the longer it's carried, the harder it becomes to bear. When the room is dark and the distractions are gone, she feels that burden pressing harder than she expected. Think about it like this. Imagine carrying a heavy shield into battle. At first it makes you feel protected, even powerful, but as the hours drag on, that shield begins to drain your energy, slowing you down, leaving you exposed. That's what her pride has become. It's not protecting her. It's exhausting her. She told herself not to call, not to send that message, not to give in. But while she clings to that image of strength deep down, she feels the cost of it. Restlessness, regret, and the knowing realization that silence on her part doesn't make her strong, it makes her unsettled. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that true power comes from mastering yourself, not from trying to control others. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to shout or fight for validation. You simply stay calm, grounded, steady, and that quiet strength stands in sharp contrast to her restless pride. While her nights are consumed with the weight of holding back, your nights are peaceful because you've already let go of the need to win. The beauty of silence is that it reveals truth over time. At first, her pride told her you would break before she did. But as the days and nights go by, she begins to see the opposite. She's the one tossing and turning, staring at the phone, battling the urge to reach out. And you've shown her that strength isn't in clinging, but in detachment. That's when her pride no longer feels like confidence. It feels like a prison she built for herself. Remember this, your calm isn't just silence, it's proof. Proof that real strength doesn't need noise, it doesn't need drama, and it certainly doesn't need validation. While her pride collapses under its own weight, your discipline stands taller than any words could, and that contrast more than anything is what keeps her awake at night. Take a second to reflect on this. Have you ever noticed how pride feels heavy, but discipline feels light? One drains you, the other frees you. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment sharing your perspective or simply type, "Calm is my power." And don't forget to hit that like button. It helps this message reach more men who need it. Now let's move on to the next part, the memory trap. Number 9, the memory trap. Your silence makes old memories come alive again. The moments she thought she buried your laughter, your presence play on repeat. You're not chasing the past, but she can't escape it. The Stoic man knows the past is gone, but others often remain its prisoner. And that's the power of what you're doing right now. When you don't reach out, when you don't fight to remind her of your worth, her own mind does the work for you. The silence opens a door she thought she locked, and behind it are all the moments she thought she'd left behind. At first, she might feel strong in her decision. She tells herself she's moved on, that she doesn't need to think about you anymore. But the human mind doesn't work that way. Silence acts like an amplifier. Without your words to drown out her thoughts, her mind fills the space with memories. The way you looked at her, the way you made her feel safe, the way you laughed at something only the two of you understood. Those memories don't die quickly. They resurface when the silence gives them room. And late at night, when she's lying in bed, they play on repeat, reminding her of what she once had and what she can't seem to shake. For you, though, the Stoic path is clear. Epictetus taught that we should not cling to what has already passed, because the past belongs to fortune, not to us. You've accepted that truth. You're not living in those memories anymore. You're not chasing them, trying to recreate them, or using them as a lifeline. You've moved forward, and your silence is proof of that discipline. Ironically, it's your detachment that makes those memories stronger for her, because she feels them more vividly in your absence than she ever did in your presence. Think of it like a song you once loved, but haven't heard in years. Then one day it plays again, and suddenly you're flooded with emotions you didn't expect. That's what she experiences in the quiet of her own mind. She thought she had buried you, but silence is the melody that revives it all, and every time those memories surface, she feels the weight of what she lost more than ever before. So understand this, the memory trap isn't yours, it's hers. You're free because you've accepted the past and moved beyond it. She, on the other hand, finds herself chained to memories that won't let her rest. That's the difference between a Stoic man and one who is a prisoner of his past. And it's that difference more than anything that keeps her awake while you sleep soundly. The fear of replacement. Number 10. The fear of replacement. Her deepest fear begins to whisper. What if another woman now holds his attention? Your silence leaves that question unanswered, and unanswered questions are powerful. That whisper grows into a voice. She can't quiet. Every time her phone stays empty, every time she doesn't hear from you, the possibility takes root. Maybe someone else now receives the attention she once took for granted, and the more she tries to silence that thought, the louder it becomes. Imagine her scrolling through her phone late at night. She opens your profile, searching for clues, desperate to see if something has changed. Did he post a new picture? Did someone else comment? Is there even the faintest sign he's given his time to another? She may not find anything concrete, but the mind doesn't need proof to suffer. It only needs possibility, and the uncertainty of not knowing is what keeps her awake. She wonders, what if I lost him not just to silence, but to someone who now fills the space I abandoned? This is where your calm silence holds its greatest power. You don't confirm, you don't deny, you don't explain. You let her imagination do the work. While she is restless, searching for answers you'll never provide, you remain steady in yourself. Seneca once wrote, "He who is brave is free." For the Stoic man, freedom comes from not being chained to whether she stays, leaves, or wonders. You don't fear replacement because your value was never defined by her approval in the first place. That's what unsettles her most. A man who doesn't chase, who doesn't try to prove he hasn't moved on, is a man who might already have. Your silence creates a mystery she cannot solve, and in that mystery lies her fear. She realizes she can't control you, can't predict you, and can't guarantee that you'll be waiting if she ever decides to return. Think of it like a closed book. She no longer has the key to open. She doesn't know what's written on the next page of your life, and that uncertainty torments her. The fear of replacement, the thought that another woman might now hold what she lost, becomes a shadow that follows her everywhere. And while she wrestles with that fear, you embody the essence of Stoicism. You know that your worth is self-contained, untouched by her silence, her choices, or her imagination. That is why you sleep peacefully while she lies awake, haunted by the question your silence refuses to answer. Number 11, the lesson in stillness. The lesson in stillness. Stillness is unsettling to those who thrive on chaos. To her, your quiet is unbearable. To you, it's natural. Marcus Aurelius called calmness an impregnable fortress. By choosing stillness, you build a fortress she cannot penetrate, and this is exactly where the lesson lies. She expected noise, reaction, maybe even a storm of emotions. Instead, she finds nothing but stillness, and that stillness becomes more powerful than anything you could have said. Picture how it feels when someone argues and expects you to fight back, but you don't. Your lack of reaction leaves them confused, even frustrated, because they can't find footing. That's what happens in her mind at night. She thought she could predict your moves, tears, texts, anger. But when none of those came, she was left with a silence so steady that it unsettled her more than confrontation ever could. The stillness you've chosen has forced her to sit alone with her own thoughts, and that is a battle she never prepared for. For you, though, this is not an act of cruelty, it's an act of discipline. The Stoic understands that peace is not passivity, but strength in its purest form. Marcus Aurelius wrote that calmness is a fortress, and in choosing that fortress you protect what matters most, your inner state. Instead of letting her pull you into chaos, you stand firm behind your walls, untouched by her decisions, her games, or her silence. She may pound on the gates with her imagination, but she cannot enter because you refuse to open the door. This is why stillness is such a powerful teacher. It reveals the difference between the man who reacts and the man who remains centered. She learns quickly that you are not moved by the same impulses that control most men, and the more she sees this, the more she realizes how rare and valuable that strength island. Your quiet becomes a mirror, showing her the chaos in her own heart, while you remain composed, grounded, and at peace. So when you choose stillness, don't see it as doing nothing. It is everything. It's the moment you prove that you don't need to match her energy, you don't need to break your discipline, and you don't need to play into her expectations. In your stillness, you show her the kind of strength that no argument, no tears, and no pride can withstand. And that lesson, more than anything, is what keeps her awake long after the night has gone quiet. And that, brother, is the weight of stillness. It's not weakness, it's power in its purest form. Take a moment to reflect. Have you ever noticed how calmness unsettles people more than anger ever could? That's the fortress Marcus Aurelius spoke of, and it's the very thing that protects your peace. I'd love to hear your perspective on this. Drop a comment below sharing your thoughts, and if this message resonates with you, don't forget to hit that like button so more men can discover the strength of stillness. Now, let's keep going. Number 12, the victory of peace. The victory of peace. In the end, her restless nights are proof of one thing. Silence speaks louder than chasing ever could. But your true victory isn't her regret. It's your peace. That's the Stoic path. Mastery over yourself, not control over her. And that peace, brother, is what keeps you unshaken. You see, when you stop reacting to every change in her mood, when you no longer feel the urge to prove your value with words or gestures, you take back the power you once handed away. You stand tall, not because she validates you, but because you validate yourself. Her sleepless nights become her own teacher. While she lies awake, haunted by the questions your silence leaves unanswered, you rest calmly. She replays memories in her mind, searches for reasons, even builds imaginary scenarios of where you might be or who you might be with. That cycle drains her because she has no answers. But for you, silence is freedom. You've freed yourself from needing her to notice, to respond, or to come back. That is the kind of strength most men never discover because they're too busy chasing shadows. Think about how powerful this contrast island. Imagine two people walking through the same storm. One is frantic, shivering, desperate for shelter. The other moves with steady steps, rain falling all around him, yet calm because he knows storms always pass. That's you, the Stoic man. You don't resist what's beyond your control, and you don't let chaos outside dictate the calm within. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That realization is your fortress, and while you live in that fortress of calm, she feels locked out. Your silence unsettles her, not because it's cold or cruel, but because it's strong. It reveals a truth she may never have considered, that you don't need her to define you, that your worth doesn't shrink when she pulls away. That's why silence has such a... You understand that nothing outside of you can shake you again. If this message gave you something to think about, do me a favor. Hit that like button to help more men discover this truth. Drop a comment below and let me know what part of this video hit you the hardest. Or simply type one word, discipline. And don't stop here. The recommended videos on your screen will take you even deeper into Stoic wisdom and modern relationships. Click one now and I'll meet you there.